Hey guys, it's your girl Fab, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Please take a minute and subscribe. If this is your first time here, welcome. Please make sure you subscribe so that you can get the notifications when I upload new videos. This is just the beginning of my channel for those of you who have just arrived here for the first time. And for those of you who are returning but have not yet subscribed, please do so. I am in the stages of just trying to get comfortable with YouTube and also develop my channel and the topics we discuss. So the topics may shift, but as I begin to learn about who my audience is, I will cater my subjects and topics to my audience. So with that said, now I'm going to get into it. The topic that I'm going to discuss today right now is signs it's time to let go of friendships or association groups. Friendships, association groups. Now this can double back into relationships also, but I'm going to focus specifically on friendships and group associations, just because I feel like I should. I'm always talking about relationships, but sometimes we need to talk about friendships because those are what filter most of our lives out when you think about it. So one of the signs that I'm going to speak on is you have been here before. You stepped back in the past. I'm going to bring up a word that I always use all the time, and it's patterns. You feel that consistently you've had to break up almost. I mean, I hate to use the word break up because that usually is used for relationships, but friendships break up too. Friendships are a form of relationship too. And it's the breakups are because of constantly button heads. So the breakups are because of this, you don't really connect. You don't mesh. It's evident that your friendship may be based on something else that you might not even know it's based on. Because if your friendship is on the outs more than it's on the ins, then is it really a friendship? Is it really a connection that you should sustain or try to preserve? Is it really, does it really need to be? Could you have made a better pick or selection in your friendships as opposed to trying to make something that doesn't fit? We do that in relationships sometimes, and then we try to catch ourselves so we don't end up being in a toxic relationship. But it also applies to friendships as well. Sometimes you're trying to force things that don't need to be. Say you don't have the same interests as your friends at all. Maybe your initial bonding with this friend was just that. You were bonding over toxicity, perhaps, which is not a good thing. All the time it happens. But then you have to take a step back and really think. What are the origins of this friendship? What is the uniqueness of this friendship? What makes it what it's supposed to be? And why are we trying to sustain it? Because usually when you're trying to sustain a friendship, it has to do with the fact that you have similarities. You agree on certain points in life. You have similar values, core values. You have similar hobbies and interests. And if you find that you're mostly arguing and disagreeing and not getting along most of the time, then you really have to ask yourself some real questions. Why am I trying to preserve and sustain this? Because it might not be, it might not be something you want to develop or pour into anymore. And that's okay. Yeah. So, developing on that, you just disagree all the time. Instead of agree, you disagree and compete. That's another toxic trait. There's nothing wrong with healthy competition, but you realize that in the friendship it falls into competing all the time. That has to make you wonder. Instead of agreeing and collaborating, you find that you're disagreeing and competing all the time, which to me in the long run is toxic if you think about it, because friendships are supposed to be a lot about like-mindedness, like-heartedness, but instead you're competing against each other, underlying competing, feeding off of more of a jealousy vibe than you are feeding off of more of a loving vibe and a supportive vibe, which is that's what friendships are for. That's what you enter a friendship for anyway. Healthy camaraderie, but at the same time you enter it so that you can have that support, so that somebody can have your back, because that's the whole reason why you're connecting in the first place. So if you find that that toxic side outweighs the agreeing and the collaboration and the wanting to support one another and the genuinely being there for each other in times of need, then I mean, really, you might want to scratch that. You know, you've already at this point taken a step back many times, that pattern that I talked about before, and now you're at the point where you just disagree and compete more of the time than you do agree and collaborate. So it's kind of like a no-brainer. Like, you might want to cut it loose. It might be time to let that go. The season for that friendship might be done, you know, and this is just might. At the end of the day, you have to really search your brain and make that decision for yourself on whether you want to continue to try to work on it or let it go. Similarly to relationship and relationship goals, friendships apply. And another one, this is another one that can piggyback onto the relationship conversation as well, and it's in friendships. You discover some betrayal. This is like the hard one. This is usually the one that actually breaks up friendships. A discovery of betrayal. And I know I'm using betrayal, and there's so many other words I can use. Betrayal is so dramatic and soap opera, like, you know, but like lightweight betrayal, you know, like shading someone, you know, reading someone. And those are the lightweight of the spectrum that I can discuss. Like, you're always shading someone, or somebody's always shading you. Like, what is that really about? That reeks of jealousy and envy, and not that camaraderie and friendship and love that is supposed to be the core of a friendship, a real friendship anyway. Talking behind each other's back, discovery of that. Now, don't get me wrong. There will be times where you talk about a friend behind their back, but usually it's in the case of defending that friend, and speaking highly of that friend, you know, defending that friend to enemies or frenemies, or big upping your friend in support of them and whatever it is they have on ground, whether it's a project, whether it's a goal they've had in mind that you've known about because you were supposed to be their friend. At the end of the day, that's the lightweight end of the spectrum. The darker side of the spectrum borders on like cheating with their significant other. I mean, those go without saying. That's a no-brainer, and that's a no-no, and that's, you cut them off because you just don't do that. So yeah, you discover some betrayal, lightweight betrayal to heavyweight betrayal. And all the topics that I brought up apply, but at the end of the day, a lot of the times, we, especially being women, you know, I know there be men that watch this too, but our intuition tells us these things sometimes, you know. But, you know, as grown adults, we try not to go off the deep end and jump to conclusions. So we obviously, these are like the signs that actually manifest into physicality, where you can actually see these things happening repeatedly, see the pattern show up repeatedly. And so you have to make a hard decision on whether you're going to let it go or not. And for some, it might not even be a hard decision. It might be like, literally, I've seen enough of these signs and it's time to end this friendship once and for all. Because a lot of the times we hold on to friendships that have already surpassed their season. Meanwhile, God has a new friendship pending. He has a new situation, a new circumstance, an upgraded level of life that we're supposed to be living, but we're holding on to those old friendships that should have been long over. So those are just some little insights that I have regarding, you know, signs it's time to let go of friendship or a group association. I hope that's been meaningful to you guys, and I hope this is touching on the subjects that you want me to elaborate on. I appreciate you listening. Once again, if you have not subscribed, please subscribe now. Trust me, you want to get the early notifications on the topics that I'll be bringing to this YouTube channel. Please make sure you give me feedback in the comments. You can also DM me on Instagram. I welcome that. And I welcome all your suggestions to develop this channel and bring you the information, topics, and subjects that you want to talk about. So with that said, I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for listening into my channel today. See ya.